Alright artists, today we are going to be starting a winter tree painting. And this is going to be a little bit different painting than you're used to because we're not using tempera cakes, we're actually going to be using tempera paint. It's thicker paint, it's a little bit more advanced, so we need to learn a few rules about how do we use this kind of paint. It's very similar. We still have a messy mat. The messy mat is for wiping the extra paint off, for cleaning our brushes. We still use a sponge and water, but this time the paint is thicker. It already has liquid mixed to it, so you don't have to use a wet brush. So what we're going to do in our background is a swirled pattern design. So we are basically just going to swirl some colors together. We can add layers. This is just our background. When you mix your colors together, think about warm colors, reds, oranges, and yellows, and how well they mix together. Think about cool colors, greens, blues, and purples, and how well they mix together. And always remember that when you mix warm and cool colors together, you may get a color that you're not expecting. So like if I mixed yellow and purple together, I'm going to get brown. If I mixed orange and blue together, I might get brown. And if I mix red and green together, I might get brown. So when we mix these paints on here, just pay attention to your colors. You can also add white. I've added some white too. You can add white to any of your colors to lighten them. Now when we paint, we want to kind of paint in a circular motion, and I usually start in the middle and work my way out. And remember, this is just our background. We're going to fill this whole paper up. So if I want this to be more of a night sky, I might focus on my cool colors. If I want it to look more like a sunset, I might focus on my warm colors. So I don't need to get my paintbrush to start. I'm just going to dip it right into some paint, and I'm just going to start adding some swirl or curved lines. And I can go all the way out on the edge of my paper. It can be kind of thick. We can add layers. Now I want to start a new color, so I don't want to put this blue paint in here. So just like we've done before, we wipe that extra paint on our messy mat. So I'm going to get as much blue off on my placemat as I can. Then I'm going to go to my sponge to get a little bit more blue paint off. Then I'm going to get some fresh water to clean my brush. Now I can get my next color. I think I'm going to go with purple. And I'm going to add some more curved colors. I can layer my blues and my purples together. Remember that this is just a background. We're going to do more stuff later. So I'm adding some more purples. And if my purples and blues start blending, that's okay. But if I get too much blue on my brush from blending, I may want to just wipe it off a little bit before I grab more purple. So I'm getting a real pretty color here. I think I'd like to maybe add some pinks, but I know that I don't have a pink choice up here. But I could add some red and white to make some pink. So I'm going to just go ahead and take my brush, clean it off as best as I can on my messy mat. I'm going to wipe that off on the sponge. Nice clean water, because I know that this dirty water will affect the white paint. So I'm going to be real careful when I grab it. So I'm going to grab some white. I'm actually going to put some white right next to that red since I have room. And then I'm going to wipe my brush again, right on my messy mat to clean it, right on the sponge to clean it, right on the water to clean it. And if I get just a little bit of this red and mix it here, I'm going to get a nice pink. And I'm going to go ahead and add that. Now you can see I can add layers. So I can go right over top. But the idea is that we are doing a swirled background design with multiple colors. Remember, this is just the background. When you are done with your first layer, that will mean that you don't have any white paint showing. I'm sorry, white paper showing. So I want to try to cover up all of my white paper. And when I'm done with my first layer, I can decide if I need to add more. And you'll see all of my colors are blending together really nicely. This is pretty dark, so I should probably go onto my messy mat, clean that off before I get any more of that pink, just so that way I don't contaminate it with those darker colors. And I'm going to go ahead and cover up all of that white paper. So this was my first layer. I have a nice swirled background. Once you are done with your first layer, this is going to have to go on the drying rack to dry. Hopefully you've already written your name and code on the back, so that way you know whose paper is whose before it goes on the drying rack.